become and reclaim greatness if he wants.
147-pound world championship fight. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape now from Meldrick Taylor and Crisanto, Espana, and you will see that Taylor is 2 years younger at 26. Espana is a lanky welterweight, 5 feet 11 inches tall. Exceptionally long arms give him a 10-inch reach advantage. Punch stat numbers, Larry.
All right, let's take a look at the fight averages. They throw roughly the same amount of punches, land about the same, but they've had far different levels of competition. And here are the jab picture. Taylor throws many more jabs. He's going to have to use that jab to get in close to Espana tonight, past that reach.
And now for the rules of this welterweight championship bout, let's go to Harold Letterman.
Crisanto, Espana, and Meldrick Taylor will box tonight using the rules of the World Boxing Association. 12 rounds, 3 judges scoring the fight on a 10-point must system, no standing 8 count. The 3 knockdown rule is in effect. You can be saved by the bell in the last round only, and in case a cut is caused by an accidental butt and that cut causes the fight to be stopped, we will go to the scorecards after 3 rounds have been completed. Before that, it's a technical draw. Jim?
All right, let's reestablish for you. This bout has taken place before the Lewis Ruddock fight. You are watching a taped recording of it coming up. We will pick up the action between Taylor and Espana in round number 1. 12 rounds for the WBA Welterweight Championship of the World. Meldrick Taylor, still the title holder. His championship was not at stake in his 4-round knockout loss to Terry Norris in May of this year against Crisanto, Espana. Originally from Venezuela, he spent the first 4 years of his professional boxing career in Venezuela, but only had a total of 5 fights. So at that point, he searched for another place in the world to continue his professional career and found a home with promoter Barney Eastwood in Northern Ireland. Espana, now married to a Northern Irish woman, lives about 16 kilometers down the road from Belfast in the town of Bangor, and regards himself as just as much Northern Irish at this point as Venezuelan. He is unbeaten in his professional career, and that is some credential to bring into this bout with Meldrick Taylor.
Of course, the class of his opposition was much lower than the class of Taylor's opposition, and that is the principal thing we have going into this fight of knowing how competitive he will be.
And there's the record for Meldrick Taylor. 29 wins. The only losses were to Julio Cesar Chavez in the dramatic, unforgettable bout, stopped with 2 seconds to go, and Taylor leading on 2 of 3 scorecards. And of course, the knockout loss to the heavier Terry Norris, May 9 of 1992. And now let's go to Mike Goodall, the ring announcer, for the pre-fight introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Earl's Court, London, sponsored by Nightstick, Frank Maloney for Championship Enterprises and Main Events, in association with Murad Mohammed, 3M Promotions Incorporated, presents a contest of 12 3-minute rounds to decide the WBA Welterweight Championship of the World. The officials appointed for this contest, the supervisor in charge, Mr. Nipper Reid of London. The timekeeper, Mr. Lou Hubbard from Norwich, England. The judges are Mr. Justo Vasquez of Madrid in Spain, Mr. Jutras of Montreal, Canada, and Manuel Rodriguez of Barranca, Colombia. The referee for this contest in charge is Mr. John Coyle from England, officiating in his 19th World Championship contest. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing in the red corner, wearing the black trunks with the silver trim, from La Flor Ciudad Bolivar, Venezuela, boxing out of Ireland. Silver trim from La Flor Ciudad Bolivar, Venezuela, boxing out of Ireland. His record reads 27 contests, 27 wins, 23 by KO. Would you please welcome the challenger, Crisanto, Espana. In the blue corner, wearing the black trunks, he's a record with 29 wins, 2 losses and 1 draw, 15 KOs. The welterweight, WBA welterweight champion of the world from Philadelphia, Meldrick Taylor. At the weigh-in today, Espana scaled 147 pounds at 10 stone 7 pounds. Meldrick 146.5 pounds, 10 stone 6.5 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, the WBA welterweight championship of the world. Gentlemen.
You might use another pole the gloves by my practice all time. Shake hands, back your forward.
Watching Espana jump up and down in his corner, waiting for all this to come about, it occurred to me he could do that from now to Christmas, Jim, because he used to be a marathon runner of all things, and he still routinely goes for 15 and 20-mile runs on his off weekend.
And in addition to the unusual training regimen, Larry, he has one of the most unusual bodies we've seen in recent history in the welterweight division. Exceptionally long arms, George. And Taylor, on the other hand, is a relatively short-armed, compactly built fighter.
And I think it's never been so important as to jump up and down as in this building is real cold. And that just doesn't help Meldrick Taylor because he's a fast starter. He needs to be a fast starter. The other guy has been spending time in Ireland, so his body should warm up a lot easier.
What we're seeing right off the bell here is Taylor trying to revert to his old boxing ways. They've been trying to get him to do that for a couple of years, but it took Terry Norris to convince him that that's the way he really has to fight against these bigger men.
Well, he talks the talk now. We'll see if he can walk the walk in the ring. Will he be the will-o'-the-wisp boxer who came on to earn world championships at 135 and 140 and 147 pounds? Or will he, in fact, be the slugger that he tried to be when he stood in front of Terry Norris 6 months ago?
I think Meldrick Taylor will box about as long as a polar bear would wear a snowshoe. Going back to his Philadelphia original, anytime he gets hit, he's going to barrel down and try to hit you back.
One of the things you must love about Meldrick Taylor is the heart of a warrior. He loves to mix it up. So far, Crisanto Espana's long jab in the early going has begun to pose a problem for Taylor. And now Espana tries to bring the right hand behind the jab.
If you ask me, Meldrick Taylor shouldn't be moving so much. Why? He's not fighting some guy who's going to chase him. He's not a true aggressor, just a long jab.
Well, when Taylor was at his most effective for the first 9 or 10 rounds of the Chavez fight, he was moving in and out, but basically staying close to Chavez, beginning and ending tight exchanges around the body.
Boy, what a good right hand to the body by Taylor that time.
He still has the fast hands, George.
And when you're fighting a guy of this nature, as Espana, you've got to land a lot of body shots because this guy's going to get stronger as the fight go on. The more body punches you land, the less capable he'll be able to hit you with a hard shot as the fight gets long and longer.
14 seconds, now 10 seconds remaining in round number 1. Meldrick Taylor defending his 147-pound championship against an undefeated fighter we've never seen before.
One of the things I see here is something I saw on the tapes of Espana and that I liked a lot, which is that when his opponent punches, he punches. He doesn't wait for his opponent to stop.
I know it's wrong, but listen to me, George. I know you know what you're doing. I'm in there. Are you going to listen to me? Now, are you going to listen to me? Now, listen. Look, man. Don't run from him. Step away from him, but don't run from him.
Well, be sure to join us Sunday morning, November 1 at 10:30 a.m. Eastern and Pacific for HBO's Countdown to Holyfield Bowl. We'll take an in-depth look at both fighters and their respective camps as they prepare for their November 13 heavyweight championship fight. If you missed tomorrow's broadcast of the Countdown to Holyfield Bowl, you can watch it Wednesday, November 4 at 7:30 p.m. Eastern and Pacific time. Countdown to Holyfield Bowl.
This is job, okay? Ben, when you get the opportunity, body shot. Ben, okay? Roll ahead, head of the fight.
Georgie Benton was pleading with Taylor between rounds not to run from Espana, to box him, move, but not run. Confirming what you said earlier, George.
Yeah, you got to move in and out. Now, Taylor bumped heads that time. That's just not going to help him when he just had a knockout a few months ago.
Now Duva yelling from the corner, Lou Duva that is, yelling to Taylor, that's the range, that's the range. Meldrick took a low blow. Referee John Coyle did nothing about it. We'll watch that story to see if it develops.
Once you have a fighter to be knocked out, as recent as Taylor lost, you just can't fuss at him in the corner anymore. You got to let this guy, let it all just materialize. Let him get his confidence back as the fight goes on. You argue in the corner, it's going to pay off in the fight if you just catch him right hands too early.
Right hand landed over the top for Espana. So far, the length of Espana's arms has proven a problem for Taylor. He'll have to solve the riddle of how to get inside and land his punches to the body.
That headbutt a little earlier did cause some bleeding on Espana.
Bleeding on Espana? Well, let's look for that, George.
It'll be on the left side, up high.
So Meldrick trying to double up with the left hook. When he's right, the left hook to the body is maybe his best fight. Good short right hand inside by Taylor. Espana came back with a right hand of his own. Meldrick missed with the left hook as Espana ducked away. Well, you're right about the abrasion on Espana's forehead. I can see it now, George, at close range. But Espana lands a right hand over the top. Meldrick comes back, misses with a left and a right.
Now, Meldrick is going to be awful surprised at the extent of which his power is going to be a bit more effective this time, because he's in with somebody 147 pounds like himself, so he can mix it up a little more. He needn't be too cautious. In my mind.
This is a strong 147-pound guy. He has his deep chest, long, thin limbs, very unusual body, completely fearless, and right now in control of the fight.
And Taylor, though he scored knockouts at 140 pounds, hasn't knocked anybody out at 147, except for a fighter named Ernie Chavez, who was a 140-pounder coming up. Taylor landed a good, solid right hand in close.
That's right. Now, once Taylor finds this bit of comfort and realize, hey, this fight may go for a few rounds, don't try to do it in the first few rounds, wait around. Frustrate this guy with movement.
And blood is coming out of Meldrick Taylor's mouth.
Okay, come on. Oh, the head. Okay. Yeah, hit the head. Yeah, okay. Nothing. Nothing. It's nothing there. Nothing. None to worry about. Okay, come on. Come on, Crisanto. That's the work you have to do. You make the guy brave. Now just keep doing what you're doing. Keep the hands up, getting high, and be alert. Keep the jab going. Sticking at his chest, sticking at his belly, but double up with your jab so he can't get the right hand to go. You understand? So he's fighting your jab with his right hand, so he can't punch and block at the same time, can he? All right, well, keep the jab going. Now, don't punch from too far away. You're reaching at him too much. Okay, all right. Now, when you're down there, let's start on that body. You hurt him with a couple body shots there, right? Get down there, stay down there, go to the body, and just start close. All right, come on. Come on. Good body. Let him go body.
Round 3 begins between Taylor and Espana.
At some point, you're going to pick up there may be a lack of trust between Meldrick Taylor in his corner because he felt they gave him some bad instructions against his last fight, in his last fight. And so they're trying to reestablish his communication again. A lot of arguing and a lot of trust.
Taylor landed a right hand inside. Espana countered with a left hook that caught Taylor flush on the cheek. Now Meldrick goes back to the body. And the Meldrick-Taylor, who was moving side to side and circling in round one, is now standing in front of Espana much the way he stood in front of Terry Norris.
And I think he can do it with a bit more confidence this time. This guy has not the power of a Terry Norris.
Espana's jab landing. Meldrick has sometimes been short with the jab. Espana reaching over the top with the right hand. Landed a low blow and got away with it again. And now Taylor turns to referee John Coyle and says, ask him to keep him up, please.
Taylor's corner is telling him to get with that jab, which is a mistake. He's not jabbed yet. This guy's got arms as long as this ring. Why should he exchange jabs with it?
Espana landed a left when Meldrick came in close.
Meldrick waiting around for a good active jab. He's going to get hit with a lot of right hands.
There's a left hand that Espana landed, again flush. Most of the solid blows in the fight so far landed by the challenger.
Espana seems to be making Taylor pay a price every time he tries to get in close.
Now Taylor willing to wait back and try to block Espana's punches with his glove. But it's hard to mount an offense that way. Espana's looping left hand bothered Meldrick a little bit.
Once you've been knocked out in your career, let me tell you, you go back into the ring, the glove hits you, even if they're not hard, it sounds like drums beating, boom, because the fear that you may be knocked out again is in your head at all times.
A moment ago, Espana came to Taylor, and Meldrick landed a combination to the body, which was his best combination so far in the fight. He's going to have to solve the riddle of how to get close to Espana, George, and maybe the best way is to let the man come to him.
No doubt about it, because he's shot. He's a little shy now. A lot of punches are going to hurt him tonight that really, in instance, is not hurting him.
Right hand solid by Espana. Meldrick is wobbled. Referee John Coyle says fight on. Meldrick avoided a knockdown by catching his glove on the canvas, but he's in trouble. And not in as much trouble as against Norris, but Espana is looking to hurt him some more as the round comes to a close.
And I believe Taylor thought it was a knockdown. He looked at the referee thinking it was going to be called a knockdown.
So you don't get brave, you know? Just keep doing what you're doing, right? Now you're all right. Come on, baby. Don't get close. That's it. Now look, this guy can't really fight. He ain't no hell of a fighter. He's making those strong. You know what I'm saying? But all you got to do is keep your jab going and settle down. You understand? Settle down and get yourself together. Now you got this guy under control. Okay. Now the guy, he's going to probably come out, you know, trying to get brave on it. That's the first punch that really hurts.
All right, let's see Espana how he works. He's very clever. He's had a good schooling in Venezuela. And Harold Letterman, is that really a knockdown?
Larry, that's a knockdown. If any part of your body, except the soles of your feet, touch the canvas, it's a knockdown. The referee missed it. It was absolutely a knockdown. Should be a 10-8 round.
Round 4 begins. Meldrick-Taylor appeared to have been knocked down, at least technically, toward the end of round 3. He touched his glove against the canvas to maintain support after a left and a right by Espana. Now Meldrick tries to reestablish confidence in round 4, and so far it has been like walking on eggs for Meldrick-Taylor. Espana increasingly confident and throwing the left hook with gusto, George.
No doubt about it. Taylor's just had, like I said, the recent defeat. He's cautious, overcautious, but now he should not take any fight to this guy. Don't give him any courage. Box him. Stay away, box.
How do you stay away from a guy with such long arms, George?
Because the guy never throws a punch unless he gets his feet planted in. Doesn't throw anything on the tip of his ball of his feet. He's waiting.
Meldrick steps in and goes to the body. Landed the left, the right was blocked. Trying to fight his way in with the jab. Now Espana swinging from side to side with rights and lefts, and Taylor seems unable to block them. He continues to dictate the tempo inside.
Taylor said he can't lose 2 in a row, so he's going to try everything he can now to win this boxing match.
Career on the line here, George, for a young man who was a 1984 Olympic gold medalist, one of the youngest gold medalists ever, had a brilliant early professional career, surprised everybody with a draw against Howard Davis, surprised everybody with an upset win over Buddy McGirt, fought the most brilliant fight against Julio Cesar Chavez that any opponent has ever produced, and it's been tough moments galore since then for Meldrick Taylor. Sure, he came on and won a welterweight championship in a great fight against Aaron Davis, but since that time, moments like this have continued to proliferate. And after the knockout loss to Terry Norris, at least one national magazine called Meldrick Taylor a shot fighter. Is he? He has to prove tonight that he is.
I think already he's proven he's not a shot fighter. Got up off the canvas and took the fight right back to this guy.
And, of course, the big thing right here is that the rematch with Chavez appears to be in jeopardy, serious jeopardy.
I think he's in the match of his life right now. He's most effective when he stays close. You hit this guy, get close to him, stop backing away.
Another long right hand by Espana, and another to finish the round.
Now listen to me. Now you're doing all right with this guy, but boxing's more confident. You understand what I'm saying? It's a bucket up, sir. Now, God hit you with some good shots and you took the damn shot, right? So now get confidence. You understand? Take that jab and kick this guy. Don't be moving away from him too much. See, that's why you're getting nailed.
Harold Letterman, how do you score the fight so far?
Larry, 3 rounds to 1, 39-36, Crisanto Espana. That right hand is slamming home into Meldrick Taylor's jaw. That's a real Terry Norris overhand right hand that Crisanto Espana is throwing, and it's really landing hard and doing a lot of damage. I gave Crisanto Espana a 10-8 round in the 3rd round. I thought the referee missed it. His glove definitely touched the canvas. It should have been called a knockdown. Certainly a 10-8 round for Espana.
Let's take a look at Espana landing another right hand here at the end of the round. I have Espana winning all 4 rounds.
Round 5 begins. In the first 4 rounds, Meldrick Taylor, by our punch count numbers, has landed only 24% of 251 attempted punches. Espana has thrown more punches and landed at about a 10% higher rate. And in the closing seconds of round 4, Espana rocks Taylor twice more with right hand. So you've had the one near knockdown and various other lefts and rights which appear to have wobbled Meldrick Taylor. He's having a tough time defending his WBA welterweight championship.
Taylor, when he finishes combination, he should get closer to this guy. Normally, he's finishing too far away, and he gets hit with this right overhand right. Get closer. Get closer, his corner should tell him.
How do you get closer without paying the price he's paying?
The guy is not interested in hitting Taylor when he's close at all. Only when he's far away.
I think you got a good point, George. He does not appear to be an inside grappler. But if Taylor stays out here and lets the guy use his long arms for leverage and extension, he's in trouble.
He's definitely a long arm puncher, and he likes that distance.
Well, there he landed a left hook in close. So that belies my notion for a moment. But Meldrick is still trying to find a solution as to how to get in close and control the action. Another left hand landed for Espana.
The way to get in close is you lay in a couple of punches, then stay close.
Taylor going to the body. He should keep going to the body to try to slow this guy down.
That was the best 10 seconds of the fight for Taylor, in close.
Taylor having to take some punishment to give it, but he's beginning to step up the tempo of his own offense. Ducking punches inside. Staying close. Now let's see if he'll remember to go to the body. Take 2 left hands right in the mouth.
They never should have told Taylor to box this guy with such long arms. Should have been fighting like this from the beginning.
Well, sometimes even even a great corner can be the wrong corner for a particular fighter. And this marks the second fight in a row, George, in which you believe that the, on paper, tremendous corner of Lou Juba and George Benton are letting Meldrick Taylor down.
Right, they're trying to make him regress to the days when he was a boxer. Hey, he's a big, strong guy from Philadelphia. Let him fight.
I don't know, George. He's never had punching power at 147 pounds. Maybe he can gain it with more confidence. Taylor landed a right hand inside. Espana lands a right.
Come on, here. Come on, deep breath. Come on, deep. Come on, deep. Again. Come on. How do you feel, Sam? You feel good? Wonderful, Dan. Come on. Come on. Don't fight with him inside, okay?
This WBA World Welterweight Championship fight appears on the air as the second half of our HBO doubleheader tonight. In case you tuned in late and missed the WBC heavyweight title eliminator between Razor Ruddock and Lennox Lewis, which we showed earlier this evening, we will be rebroadcasting that important contest later tonight at 1 o'clock in the morning, Eastern and Pacific time. No tricks, that's the treat. Be with us at 1 a.m. Eastern and Pacific to see Lewis and Ruddock.
Now you're boxing, but you had good to do. Come on, baby. Now you're coming on. Come on.
Round 6 of a scheduled 12 for the WBA welterweight title. Meldrick Taylor, still the title holder, lands a big right hand to start round 6.
Espanto's a good boxer, but what are you going to run into tough Philadelphians when you're living in Ireland? This guy should fight him. At all times, Taylor should be fighting this guy. And Espana has a great left jab, but he's not a power puncher up close.
Well, of course, George, there are some who would say that the mean streets of Belfast will outstrip Philadelphia for meanness.
That is true.
Look, he fights in the gym in Northern Ireland every day. That's the same gym that produced, among others, the famous featherweight titleist Barry McGuigan. And finally, referee John Coyle has to take action about a low blow as Meldrick Taylor goes to his knees.
Should not have to be wearing trunks like that. I don't even see the evidence of a good cup up close to him. The trunk he's wearing is not very protective. I mean, he had to evidently build a cup to protect the hide.
Action outrunning question with those trunks.
And the referee is taking a point away from Espana, which seems odd to me since he never even warned it before.
Harold, what's the rule here on Taylor's recovery?
Watch him. It was an accidental clear-cut low blow. Meldrick has up to 5 minutes to recuperate, at which time, if he doesn't continue, he loses. All right, he's coming out of the corner, so no problem
like
there.
he should have taken more time.
Right. Referee John Coyle did deduct the point from Crisanto Espana for the low blow.
Good left hook by Meldrick Taylor.
To the body. Outstanding.
Right hand also.
Taylor fighting with new aggressiveness. Maybe the low blow has given him the incentive he needs to simply seize command of the bout. Giving and taking. Taylor goes to the low blow and gets away with one of his own. Lands a left hook to the side of the head. For the first 30 seconds after the low blow stoppage, Meldrick Taylor has his best 30 seconds of the fight. But now Espana lands one of those lengthy right hands, and Meldrick slows down again.
He takes a breather and stands outside. He should take a breather inside. Won't get hit with so many overhand rights. Taylor should stay a little closer.
Well, one thing Meldrick has never tried to do and never learned to do in his career is to fight along the rope. And it looks to me, George, as if he knew how to do that, he might be able to confuse Espana a little more than he has.
Any little thing he can throw in at this time would only help. But he's got to stay a little closer to Espana.
They are fighting in a 20-foot, 8-inch ring. It is cavernous. There's a long right hand by Espana. Meldrick Taylor in trouble again. Taylor ready to go down if Espana lands one more of those rights over the top.
And, of course, that's the danger in becoming aggressive, that he was going to walk into a punch like that, which he did.
He's only getting hit on the outside. If he stays close, nothing will come out.
Espana uses the left, sets up the right. Meldrick is either playing possum or in terrible trouble.
Not playing possum.
Now he finally grabs and holds, but wobbles backwards. And Meldrick Taylor survives the 6th round.
And wobbles to his corner.
No. Listen, this is when you need a father figure. You don't need a corner now. Lou Duva should just jump in and say, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Again.
All right. Listen to me, Meldrick. Now, look, Meldrick. The guy can't play the lick on the inside, and that's where you belong. You know, you got to stay close to the guy. Meldrick, the guy can't play the lick inside. I'm telling you, but he's hitting with the long punches on the outside. Inside is where he should be. Come on, man. You understand? Come on, man. Now, Mel, get yourself together and get close to this guy and stay close. See, Mel? Grab that. Let me try and come. Now, Mel, get yourself together. Stay close. Now, stay on the inside. Now.
Okay, let's take a look and see how Espana did this. Little chopping right seemed to send Taylor off balance, and Espana went on the attack. Taylor cannot get to Espana without exposing himself to those punches because Espana steps back. What we're seeing here is the limitations of Taylor against bigger men. He is a short fighter. He is not powerful, so that even when he gets inside, he doesn't hurt his opponent unless he can land fuselage his punches. And this guy is very clever. He's waiting for him to come to him, to step back, and he's looking for an opening, and he's able to deliver.
Larry, he doesn't need to hurt him. He needs to just stay close and win points. It's not about hurting the guy. It's about staying away from the power, which is outside. Now, his corner told him to stay close. It's too late. He should have told him that initially. He's just finding out the good news.
Crisanto Espana lands another right hand flush on Meldrick Taylor's face. Taylor with specific instructions from George Benton to get inside, seemingly at a loss as to how to do it. Espana has him in trouble again. And if Meldrick Taylor survives this round, it still seems, to me at least, like only a matter of time. I'll tell you guys, management decisions in boxing are idiosyncratic. It's certainly an inexact science. But over the long haul, I'm of the opinion that Meldrick Taylor was a 140-pound fighter who never should have gone to a 147-pound championship or no championship.
Well, but that was his decision because he couldn't make the weight anymore. And this is not a management decision that the problem is here. He had to fight a mandatory challenge, and that's when his trouble began. Because Espana is too strong for him, and he's too clever.
Taylor looking weary, still trying.
You get Meldrick Taylor before his last fight, he could have beaten this guy easily. But now his confidence has been shot. Corner don't know, tell him to box, then tell him to stay close. Everybody's confused.
How big an imprint did Terry Norris's right hand make on Meldrick Taylor's career? You are seeing the fallout tonight, along with the surprisingly effective performance of a heretofore unknown contender named Crisanto Espana.
Now, Taylor is trying to protect himself from the right hand by bringing his right hand from near his waist back up to his face, and he's not timing it. The best thing to do is lay that right hand right up there beside your left side of your face and keep it there.
George, with all due respect, this isn't a matter of strategy. I don't think that anything Meldrick Taylor could do would undo what this guy is doing to him, because he's just got the size and the answers for whatever Taylor, as a small, short welterweight, can do with him.
You got a feel for Taylor. He's at the end of all these long arm punches, and it's a riddle he just hasn't solved.
No. Listen to me. Listen. How you coming out? Now, listen to me. Now, you got to suck it up. Now, you see, this guy done threw the book at you. You still here? You understand? Now, if you suck it up, Mel, you can kill this guy. This guy is not a hell of a fighter, Mel. Come on.
Harold Letterman,
what you're doing?
Give us your score.
Larry, 67-63, 5 rounds to 2, Crisanto Espana. Larry, round 6 was really very, very interesting. Now, there was a 10-8 round, clearly a 10-8 round for Crisanto Espana, but he loses 1 point because the referee takes away a point to the low blow, becomes 9-8. But Espana 5 rounds to 2 so far.
This is an early stage of the round as Espana goes on the attack. I have him ahead 6 rounds to 1, and this is the end of the round. Meldrick Taylor took a terrible beating in that round.
As they go to round 8, you have the beginnings numerically of a mismatch. By punch count numbers in round number 7, Meldrick Taylor landed only 11 of 56 attempted punches. Crisanto Espana, 41 of 88.
Now, Espana has better start trying to protect his lead now. He gets into a many more mix-up like that. Some left hook could come from somewhere out of the sky and drop him.
But as the fight goes on, if it follows this pattern, George, you have to begin to consider what kind of welterweight champion is Crisanto Espana going to make. And will he insist on defending the title in Belfast, Northern Ireland, which could make for some fascinating moments in the division.
And with a left jab like that, he can win internationally. Once you got a good jab like that, you can fight anybody, and even in their hometown.
I think his body is a huge advantage, too. He has these long arms. He's not skinny. He's got a deep chest.
Sucks up a lot of oxygen, which means he recovers quick.
I think he might start an exodus from Venezuela to Belfast.
Espana kind of just lay that right hand out there. He doesn't give any motion or power to it. Lays it out there and it just connects.
And we should mention here that he had a younger brother who once was a lightweight champion.
Ernesto Espana, the man who talked Barney Eastwood, promoter and manager, into taking this Espana on.
If the fight goes another round like it is now, it would be in the interest of Duba and his camp to maybe even consider stopping the fight. 2 knockouts, that much punishment.
I agree with you, George. And I think that perhaps Meldrick Taylor does too right now. I think he's got to stop the fight.
No, he's not going to stop the fight.
That's a very brave referee.
And it's a still brave Meldrick Taylor, and he always has been. A warrior's heart, which is going to betray him here. John Coyle, within moments of stopping the fight, Lou Dubas on the top step, and they both make the decision at the same moment. Duba was stepping into the ring as Coyle spread his arms to stop the bout.
If Meldrick Taylor was a shot fighter coming into this fight, he's a dead fighter now.
You win some and you lose some. You try to win more than you lose.
28-year-old Crisanto Espana, out of Venezuela, now living and fighting out of Belfast, Northern Ireland, has won them all in his career, 28 in a row. And now he's the WBA welterweight champion of the world.
I think what could have happened, and should have happened, Meldrick Taylor should have taken off at least a year after the last beating he took.
Let's take a look at the first knockdown, gentlemen.
Well, this is a knockdown that started way back in the first round when Espana already showed signs of being a little bit too much for Taylor, and he just gradually built on that. This is the same sequence of punches. Crisanto Espana has turned out to be a world-class champion. And now let's look at the end of the fight, about 15 or 20 seconds after it should have been stopped. But the referee did give Taylor the champion's privilege of going on. This was nice.
Well, when you remember what Meldrick Taylor was not too long ago, this is hard to watch.
And harder yet to watch for Julio Cesar Chavez,
who has just watched a couple of million go down the drain.
at least.
For the final particulars on this, let's go up to ring announcer Mike Goodall.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 2 minutes, 11 seconds of the 8th round, the referee has stopped the contest. Meldrick Taylor being in no position to defend himself
the winner and new WBA welterweight champion of the world, Crisanto, Espana. To present the belt, the supervisor in charge, Meldrick.
So Crisanto Espana tries on a brand new belt.
And I think he's going to wear it with pride. I mean, this guy's got a great left jab, and who would have thought a guy boxing and training in Ireland would have an uppercut like that?
I think he's going to be a very tough customer in the welterweight division. The other champion, Maurice Blocker, is the champion under the International Boxing Federation's aegis.
Good fighters, both fighters. I think it's an excellent fight. It was a great match for television. And believe me, they were evenly matched. The best man won tonight.
And the WBC World Welterweight Champion is James Buddy McGirt, who is headed for a date next year with Pernell Whitaker, Meldrick Taylor's longtime stablemate and very close friend. Normally at this point, you would see our Larry Merchant interviewing, in this case, winner and loser in the ring. But in Great Britain, fighters are not interviewed in the ring following a fight, because first, they must both be examined by ring doctors, and second, the British Boxing Board of Control does not like the in-the-ring confusion which follows from having so many people in the ring immediately following the fight. So consequently, we wait now with Larry at ringside for the fighters to be brought to us. Final punch stat numbers, and there you have the statistical mismatch. Crisanto Espana landing nearly 40% of 586 punches. Meldrick Taylor's connect percentage went down from round to round as the fight went on. And now we go to Larry Merchant with the brand new WBA welterweight champ.
Crisanto Espana, are you surprised how easy this was for you?
No, I'm not surprised because I am ready for that fight. I know Meldrick. Yeah, I think I've been meditating.
Meldrick Taylor has such a reputation as a good fighter. Did that not bother you at all?
Yes, very much. But I am training very well. I'm very confident I not come out meditating.
Where did you realize that you were dominating him and that you were going to win this fight?
Because I believe in myself.
Where in the ring, during this fight, when did you sense that the fight was yours?
And I started in the beginning of the fight. I know the fight is mine.
Why?
Because I don't feel maybe strong enough for me.
He's not a strong welterweight.
No, not strong. Very fast welterweight, but not strong.
And your reach advantage, he could not get to you.
Oh, well, my reach had a lot of me with my jab. I was ready for that fight.
Did you think you had a knockdown earlier in the fight when he went down with his both hands to the canvas?
Yes, yes.
Were you surprised that they didn't call it a knockdown? Did you protest at all? During this fight, when did you sense that the fight was yours?
And I started in the beginning of the fight. I know the fight is mine.
Why?
Because I don't feel maybe strong enough for me.
He's not a strong welterweight.
No, not strong. But very fast welterweight, but not strong.
And your reach advantage, he could not get to you.
Oh, well, my reach had a lot of me with my jab. I was ready for that fight.
Did you think you had a knockdown earlier in the fight when he went down with his both hands to the canvas?
Yes, yes.
Were you surprised that they didn't call it a knockdown? Did you protest at all?
No.
Did you think that eventually you were going to get him at that point?
Yes, the fight started out. And then I has my chance.
Do you think that he is through as a fighter now?
Yes, I think.
He can't fight anymore? You're not as a welterweight?
No, in welterweight. I can't fight in welterweight. No way.
Well, you're the second member of your family to hold a world championship.
Yes.
That must be a very good feeling for you.
Yes, very good for me, for my family, my mom, the second son world champion. And very, very town, very small town in Ciudad Bolívar. I am farmer.
And the other 13 children, the other 13 brothers and sisters of yours must be watching.
Yes, maybe watch, maybe not.
Well, you're the champion of that big family now, as well as the champion of the WBA welterweight division. Thank you very much for a wonderful fight. Congratulations. And now back to Jim.
All right, thanks very much, Larry. And George, if it shows us one thing, it shows us how big the world of boxing is. You study and study, you think you know everybody, and all of a sudden somebody comes out of the woodwork and you say, wow, look at this guy. A lot of people thought coming in, based on what they'd seen on tape, that Crisanto Espana was dangerous. Now we know how dangerous he was.
Talk about the world market, my goodness. Everybody being competitive. We've seen it here tonight. For a bad day for Meldrick Taylor, but he shouldn't feel bad. He's had a good career. Lots of wins, lots of victories, and lots of money.
And, of course, amid what will be seen as his worst defeat, one of Taylor's great qualities still obvious. There's no quit in Meldrick Taylor.
Yeah, and he displayed a lot of courage tonight, a lot more than I had given him credit to have. He wouldn't quit.
And incidentally, we had expected to bring you a post-fight interview with Meldrick Taylor, but as Larry was talking to Crisanto Espana, Lou Duva and George Benton took Meldrick Taylor to the locker room. We may very well not get a chance to speak to him tonight. And here, once again, a look back at the closing stages of the fight as Crisanto Espana pounded away at will at a by now still willing but defenseless Meldrick Taylor, and referee John Coyle stepped in to stop it. All right, let's reestablish. All of that was recorded earlier. We bring you back to real time in Earl's Court now, and we'll turn to Larry Merchant for his final comments on the arrival of a new welterweight champion, Crisanto Espana.
Well, you got to like Espana and his story. His brother was a champion, one of 15 kids, goes to Ireland from Venezuela, of all things, to take up boxing, sticks with it at the age of 28. He gets a shot at a well-known, high-profile, once terrific fighter, and does everything he has to do to dominate the fight. But my thoughts mainly are about Meldrick Taylor, who's been such a terrific fighter for us. There are some fighters who are just destined to live fast and die young in the ring. And he is one of them because of the way he's made, because he's not big enough to be a welterweight, can't make lightweight anymore. But he's given us everything, and I can only give him my highest praises and my wishes for a good future.
I agree, and we'll miss him. We'll be back in a moment to talk to you about Louis Ruddock. First, let's turn to George for his final comments on that fight. And, George, here's what's going to happen. All those experts who picked Ruddock to knock out Louis are now going to have to say that Tyson took too much out of him, and he wasn't the same fighter anymore. You put any stock in that?
Excuses, excuses. You can do nothing but praise Lennox Lewis. He fought a good fight. He didn't get intimidated. Stood back with the sneak right hand. I never thought he could do it so early, but he's proved that he's a world-class fighter. He can become heavyweight champion of the world and keep the title for a long time if he keeps his shoes on.
So which opponent would have the best style to stand him in good stead against Lewis? Would it be Holyfield or Bowe?
Riddick Bowe stands up tall in the same fashion as Ruddock did. He could get knocked out easily if he's not properly prepared. I think Evander Holyfield, because he's lower, can hide for a few more rounds, but eventually he'd even get caught with that sneak right hand.
You're picking Lewis to become heavyweight champ?
No doubt about it. This guy even scares me.
On Halloween night, that's appropriate. Larry Merchant, your final thoughts on Lennox Lewis's destruction of Razor Ruddock. And I should say that Larry, like George, has for months picked Lewis to win this fight.
I didn't expect it to happen quite the way it did, Jim. I didn't expect that Razor Ruddock was going to hang his head out there on Halloween like a jack-o'-lantern, and that this guy was just going to knock it off. I don't know any expert who knew that Ruddock, because he carried his hands low, was vulnerable to that punch, because everybody had been so mesmerized and tantalized by his power. I think more to the point is why he was so overrated, Ruddock. As I said before the fight, here's a guy whose reputation is based on 2 defeats. I don't care how brave he was against Tyson, how arrogant he was against Tyson. He lost 16 out of the 19 rounds. That tells me something about what kind of fighter he was. I think he thought he was a better fighter than he was. Most people did. And Lennox Lewis tonight
showed what kind of fighter Ruddock was and what kind of fighter he is and is going to be.
All right, and let's take one final look now at this immense explosion in the heavyweight division, at least the final stages thereof. The last few punches in Lennox Lewis's 3-minute, 46-second destruction of Razor Ruddock, which now puts Lewis in line to fight for the heavyweight championship. This, the third knockdown of the brief bout. It was quite enough for referee Joe Cortez. So, coming up immediately following tonight's coverage of World Championship Boxing, we ask you to stay tuned for HBO Comedy Hour Damon Wayans' The Last Stand, already in progress, to be followed by Dream On. And be sure to join us Sunday morning, November 1 at 10:30 a.m. Eastern and Pacific Time for HBO's Countdown to Holyfield Bowl. We'll take an in-depth look at both fighters and their respective camps as they prepare for that November 13 heavyweight championship fight. If you missed tomorrow's broadcast, you can watch it on Wednesday, November 4 at 7:30 p.m. Eastern and Pacific Time. On Friday night, November 13th, TVKO presents live pay-per-view coverage of the World Heavyweight Championship between undisputed champion Evander Holyfield and number 1 contender Riddick Bowe. Be sure to call your local cable operator for details of how to see the fight. In case you tuned in late and missed the WBC heavyweight title elimination fight between Razor Ruddock and Lennox Lewis, which we showed just a little earlier this evening, we'll be rebroadcasting that contest later tonight at 1 o'clock a.m. Eastern and Pacific Time. So now for Larry Merchant, George Foreman, and Harold Letterman, I'm Jim Lampley, saying so long and happy Halloween from London, England.
Well, that's it for Tales from the Ring. But remember, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, and when fight night is factory, think to me. Happy Halloween!
Tonight's coverage of World Championship Boxing was produced by Rick Bernstein and directed by Mark Payton. The associate producers were Kirby Bradley and Martin Marks. Feature producers Kendall Reed and Brian Brown. Assistants to the producers Abe Leeston, Adam Berger, and Artie Curry. The production manager was Russell Gabay, and the technical supervisor was George Wenzel. Presentation of HBO Sports, the network of champions. Next on HBO.